guys, and welcome back to CHT 204. This week we're going to look at Chapter 3, the Block Center. In the Block Center, children can play with different types of blocks and block accessories, which helps develop their creativity, as well as helps them model the real world that is around them. The Block Center also promotes development and learning to achieve different milestones. For example, you can observe social and emotional development as a child shares the Block Center space with another child. You can observe physical development in both terms of gross and fine motor skills while they're in the Block Center. You can also see development of language and literacy, and at the same time improve the cognitive skills of the child as he or she tries to recreate the environment that is around them. I have included a link right here on your screen to some articles that NAEYC published about the importance of block play in classrooms for young children. So you might want to pause right here, click, take a look, and see what some of these are all about. So if you just click the click here, you'll be able to access those articles. So I hope you'll join me as we learn all about the Block Center and a self-directed learning environment. Building with unit blocks has been a favorite preschool activity for both children and their teachers. With block play, there simply is no right or wrong. Not so long ago, blocks were confined to only preschool classrooms. With the realization that young children learn best through play with three-dimensional materials, blocks have made a comeback. Teachers, using a developmentally appropriate curriculum, realize there is more to block play than meets the eye. The kind of learning children can accomplish in the Block Center touches on every facet of their growth and development. Unit blocks, which you see the picture on the screen, are smooth wooden blocks, and they are the basis of block building activities in most of our preschool classrooms today. There are altogether 20 different block shapes, and young children can build all kinds of structures using the unit blocks. If your children are to choose the Block Center as an activity, then the center needs to be arranged effectively and attractively. As with any area in your classroom, children will choose to become involved in an area if the materials are easily accessible, there are enough materials for everyone that wants to play, and if there's enough space to actually use the materials. A few things to consider when you're setting up your block area. You need to consider the arrangement of your center, the size of the center, the block accessories that you include in the center, and also the labeling of your center. So the arrangement of your block center is first and foremost. So let's make sure that you stock your shelves with enough blocks. Arranging your blocks lengthwise on the shelf at the children's height makes it easy for them to access the blocks and also return the blocks. The area for the block center should be spacious, with a carpet on the floor and its borders defined by the shelves. What do you think the Block Center could contain other than blocks? The materials for this and every classroom activity area will depend on what you want the children to learn. If you want the children to build large structures, then you have to provide enough blocks. Do you want the children to pretend and use their creativity with building? If so, this will require that you stock the Block Center with accessories that support field trips and other learning center themes. Examples of accessories may include cars, trucks, family members, farm animals, dollhouse furniture. The list could go on. And there is a very comprehensive list in your textbook, so check that one out. One great idea is that if your budget doesn't allow you to actually purchase accessories, you can go online, you can find a school supply catalog, actually cut them out, maybe glue them, paste them onto some cardboard so the children can use them in the center. And as we discussed in Chapter 1, centers should be labeled with pictures and word labels. Use the words often when you're discussing the center with the children so they become familiar with the language or the vocabulary associated with that center. And also remember, if you have a English as a second language student in your classroom, you may want to include language labels in their language as well. Sorry, y'all. Children's interactions with blocks, both large and small, promote both gross and fine motor development, as well as eye-hand coordination. Arms and hands are strengthened as blocks are taken off the shelves and then put back on again. Small muscles of the fingers, which would work on their fine motor skills, are strengthened as children pick up smaller items and actually place them into the block structure. And balancing blocks as they build houses or towers develops their eye-hand coordination. If teachers are observing the children's level of interaction during the center during their play, there are many other activities to try and engage them in depending on their level of interaction. And there's a great list in chapter 3 in your book that you might want to just briefly read over. Let's think about social development and social skills. Social skills that children need to learn in the Block Center include gaining access to ongoing play, becoming a leader or maybe following a leader, taking turns, playing cooperatively, and the pro-social skill of helping other children. The Block Center is an excellent site for spontaneous experimentation regarding social skills. Some children band together to build cooperatively, and some watch from afar, waiting to join the group. It is not the job of the teacher to force block builders to permit other children into their group, but to encourage the child to gain access by participating in onlooker, meaning they're just standing off and watching, or parallel play, where they just get some other blocks and play on their own, and then they're invited into the circle. You may want to make a note about a wonderful children's book entitled This Is Our House. And I have I'm holding a picture of the book right here for you on the screen, which is a wonderful bridge to allowing all children to participate. It's also a fun activity of actually building a cardboard house. And if you'll hover over this, there's actually a link here. If you click on it, that will take you to This Is Our House. It's actually 7 minutes long, so we won't watch the whole thing.
George was in the house. This house is mine and no one else is coming in, George said. It's not your house, George, said Lady. It belongs to everybody. No, it doesn't, said George. This house is all for me. Lindy and Marley went for a walk.
So if you're looking at that book and you're thinking about, I just showed you just a little bit, so you see what's going to happen is George basically thinks it's all his. So what a great way there from social development to even think about the conflict that may arise. And we're going to talk about another book that might help with that. But at the end of this story, what they actually do is build a house large enough, like a cardboard house. And so that would also be a really fun activity to do in your classroom as well. Every success a child experiences in the Block Center can aid in their emotional development and the good feelings they have about themselves. In addition, they can learn to deal in a positive way with emotional situations if they have supportive teachers helping them cope. The Block Center may be one place where we will see conflict arise among children. Here's a scenario. Little Susie comes over to the Block Center and knocks down little Johnny's block tower that he's been working so hard on. Sound familiar? This is a great life experience to teach children how to handle frustration appropriately and also to respect the property of others. One book that might be a great tool for this type of conflict is entitled Gigi and Lulu's Gigantic Fight. So let's just look at this for just a second.
Hey kindergarten, I have a story to read you this morning, and it's called Gigi and Lulu's Gigantic Fight. And wonder what's going to happen in this story. Gigi and Lulu did everything together. Gigi dressed in her pink striped overall.
Okay, so she takes a while to read it, and so you might want to just go back and read it so you'll know the gist of the story there, okay? To develop intellectually, children need experiences with the concepts of size and shape and with holes. They need to experiment with counting, sorting, matching, and categorizing. They also need experiences with problem solving and predicting. Block play gives them an opportunity for all of these learning experiences. Make sure that you read this section thoroughly in your textbook and to make sure that you're aware of all the cognitive development that can be supported in the Block Center. There's a great couple pages on cognitive development. It goes into a lot of detail about like one-to-one correspondence, counting, that kind of thing. So you want to check that out in your textbook. Language development in the Block Center will happen whether you promote it or not. And here's why. When children build together, they're going to talk together. This is an excellent opportunity for the teacher to listen and observe conversations and then ask the children open-ended questions about their play, like, what is happening here? What did y'all build right here? Now remember, open-ended questions are questions that don't have a yes or no answer or a very specific answer, okay? It could be anything the kids want. Your textbook offers lots of ideas on trade books to read to the children that will promote language in the Block area. So make sure that you jot down a few of these books down in your notes so that you can reference them later. Creativity in young children has to do with their imaginations and pretending. They take the information they have and use it in new and original ways. The Block Center is a wonderful place for creative development to occur because the materials are unstructured and available for children to use in any way they want. The teacher's role is to set up the Block Center so that the children become involved with blocks on their own and so that interesting and exciting things will happen in that center. In order to assess the levels of interaction, it's simple. You have to observe. Are there onlookers? Do they play alone? Do they work cooperatively with others? What types of structures are they building? What are they talking about? By watching and listening for these types of interactions, the teacher will be able to gauge each child's development. Thank you so much for joining me as we looked further into the self-directed classroom to see what the Block Center looks all about. So I hope you'll join me back next week as we talk about another area in the self-directed learning environment.